Hi, everyone, and welcome to this Wealth Management Fast Chat. I'm Shan Rossick, Director of Content Solutions, and I'm joined today by Sarad Tomlinson, Senior Vice President, Divisional Director at LPL Financial. And we're going to unpack why more top wirehouse advisors are taking a closer look at independence, what supported independence really means in practice, and how LPL's independent advisor network is helping advisors make that transition with the right mix of flexibility, resources, and community. So, Sarad, thank you so much for being here and joining me.
Thanks, Shannon. It's a pleasure and privilege to be able to tell the Independent Advisor Network story. So thank you.
Absolutely. But before we even get to that, if you wouldn't mind, just tell us a little bit about yourself, your role at LPL Financial, and what drew you to LPL.
Sure. So I've worked my whole career in wealth management and either as an advisor or supporting wealth management teams and advisors. And so I've had the privilege to work at some really great firms, build a couple of books. But it was always in a captive environment, some of the big investment banks on Wall Street. And so having the opportunity to come to LPL, I've been at LPL about a year now. And I will tell you this, it is the most advisor driven firm that I've ever worked for. I think every firm will say that their advisors are their clients, but we actually operate like that on a daily basis. It's been inspiring to have a firm with leadership that is operating in the mindset that I've worked my whole career. And I think it's what allows us to truly deliver for advisors, and it creates a really special environment that's way less about the numbers and more about the experience, which ironically leads to great performance as well.
Absolutely. And that's helpful context because a lot of advisors, especially those coming from the wirehouse world, independence, can sound exciting, but also a bit like a major leap. And I know one phrase that comes up often in that conversation is around supported independence. So when people are talking about about LPL's independent advisor network for a wirehouse advisor, what does that phrase actually mean and why does it matter?
Yeah, it's support independence has kind of become a buzzword in the industry, and talk only gets you so far. And so, for us specifically with the Independent Advisor Network, it comes down to three things. Foundationally, it's community. So, do you have a group of like-minded advisors that are facing the same challenges that you are, that you can talk to on a day-to-day basis, share best practices, be a part of a local regional community that has a dedicated coach assigned to that community to help you with strategic business planning. And then there's also there's the strategic component to it and then the tactical side of things on top of community. So if we're thinking community is the foundation, you can be independent, but you don't have to be alone. Then next comes the more pragmatic support. So, as an advisor, have you thought about what you want your goals to be? You spend your entire career helping clients and prospects with what they want to accomplish, but have you taken a step back and thought about what you want to accomplish with your business as an advisor? So there's that certainly strategic business planning and coaching, and then also making LPL feel more personalized. In a way that as an advisor, if you're doing it on your own, you may have to spend a lot of time trying to curate the resources and tools you need for your business. We've got dedicated LPL employees in each of these regional communities that can do that for you and on your behalf and create shortcuts across LPL. So that's a little bit at across the board community, strategy, and tactics. And I think that's where supported independence comes to life, where it's not just, hey, yeah, you're part of a group. It's you're part of a group, and here are the specific ways we're going to help you. The other thing I'll add is we have subject matter experts that are stacked to each of our communities, and that's across financial planning, advisory consulting, marketing, and succession planning. And it creates a really nice opportunity for the regional coaches to then bring in these subject matter experts to then go deeper in a specific aspect of an advisor's business. And I'll share that like the experts that we chose, the resources that exist were driven by advisor feedback. These were the items that advisors told us were most important to them. And we'll continue to monitor and evaluate the offering based on how the needs of our advisors change. But no matter what, like all of this is done through the lens of helping the advisors build a better business, create an asset that they can then hopefully one day have a liquidity event and truly create some enterprise value for themselves.
And also make it feel like they don't have to go it alone, because that idea of just not having to build everything from scratch feels especially relevant right now, because we're seeing more and more of those high performing advisors kind of question whether their current platform still fits where they want to go next. So I have to ask, why are so many wirehouse advisors starting to consider a move, and why now?
Yeah, I think for a few reasons. One, I think first and foremost, it's, do they want to have more control over their day to day? So if you're in a captive environment in a W-2 channel, like I spent a lot of my career, yes, you have the freedom and flexibility to manage your clients like you want, but you're kind of stuck in a position where you can only use the preset resources that are available. You can't like automatically decide that you no longer want to use a certain vendor for your CRM and switch to another. So I think independence presents the idea of some flexibility, both from a practice management side, but also from a business management side. As an owner operator, you have more control over how you direct your income versus it being all just in a paycheck. You can reinvest more of that into your business, and you have that flexibility to, you know, hire someone, bring on a junior advisor, potentially add to your tech stack or change your financial planning software. You don't have that optionality in a captive environment. And so I do think more and more people are going to be heading towards independence. And it's kind of the wave of the future for wealth management. I just had the opportunity to be at a conference this week, and Lewis Diamond was there as one of our guest speakers. He leads Diamond Consultants. They noted in their annual transition report that in 2024, about 9,000 advisors switched firms. And then in 2025, that increased to over 11,000, which is, that's a massive jump. That's 16% in 1 year. And looking at where those advisors are moving to, more and more each year, they're shifting to an independent firm. Cerulli does a BC market report but on an annual basis. And in their 2024 report, they noted that like by 2028, like 42% of advisor moves are going to be going towards independence. And I think that's probably understated based on how things are progressing just year over year. So there's going to be a dramatic shift towards like true ownership of your business and what you can create with it and how you can deliver for your clients. That was also really important when we created the Independent Advisor Network. We wanted to provide structure, framework, support for them so they can meet with one of our subject matter experts. They can meet with their regional coach and create a strategic plan, but they still have choice in how they want to execute on it. So for us, you get flexibility, support, and community.
Well, and to your point, when advisors do make that move, the platform matters. But going back to the point you made earlier, that people side of an aspect of it all and of the experience is equally, if not more important. And I want to talk about something that really sets the independent advisor network apart, which what you mentioned earlier, the community. So tell us what that actually looks like day to day for an advisor inside the network.
Yeah, and so there's kind of two layers to the community, which is great. First, you have that local flair of who you're working with directly every single day, and the advisors that are part of your region. That creates that relationship building opportunity where you can truly get to know some of the teams around you, learn from them, learn from each other, share best practices. But then we also have a national layer of support and community. So that national community looks it's like a bigger version of the regional community. So we'll do like national events throughout the country where we'll be cross region and have advisors join from different some of the different regions, and then you get to build that network even more. And it's very interesting when you meet an advisor in California or you meet an advisor in New York City or someone in the middle of the country, they all may approach their clients a little bit different. They all may have different verbiage that resonates, and then people get to collect all the great ideas and try them and bring them to life. We'll often have conversations that come up organically at these meetings, and then at the next meeting we'll hear a great success story. So one example I'll give, just to be specific, is the question of asking your clients for referrals. That's one of the most challenging things advisors can do. But one of our advisors met with another one at one of our regional meetings, and then they got some verbiage. They tried it, came back and said they closed a $2 million prospect. And so like that's a real life example of how the community aspect of things leads to great outcomes for our advisors, and like true business growth for them. I'll also share that, I think for a lot of advisors out there, yes, it's great to have the features, the bells and whistles of like certain tech stack or certain software that they can deliver for their end clients. But really, when it comes down to it, is it's a challenging job. And so having like-minded people around you can make all the difference in the world from an experience of like the advisor's day to day. So to answer your question, what does that look like? It's multifaceted. And what will happen is after these advisors meet in person, that's when the email chains start and everyone starts engaging outside of the office and outside of our work environments. They build their own study groups, and the magic really comes together.
Well, that's fantastic, and that's a great point that you make, as well. Just, I think it's the power of community. It's still very much a human and relationship-based business, and that is never going to change. But maybe for those advisors who are not quite ready to make a decision, that first step is often just learning what the model could ultimately look like for their business, their clients, and their team. So for advisors listening who want to explore this independent advisor network further, what is the best way to learn more and take that first step?
Yeah. So first, before I answer that, Rich Steinmeier, our CEO, has said on multiple occasions, our goal as a firm is to be the best firm in wealth management. Part of that means us having really creative and unique affiliation models to which advisors, if you're at a wirehouse or you're a part of a bank program and you want to go independent, we've got to have the right levels of support and the spectrum of which you can do that in a way that you feel more comfortable. So from starting your own business from scratch, that can be really challenging and nerve-wracking endeavor to undertake and be scary. So know that we have teams here at LPL that actually will help end to end with the startup process. And that's part of being part of the independent advisor network. So in terms of hurdles, we've tried to eliminate most of them. But in general, if people want to learn more, first and foremost, I'd highly welcome reaching out to me on LinkedIn. I just search for a name, Sarad Tomlinson. I'd love the opportunity to connect. I post regularly on there, so there's a lot of LPL and Independent Advisor Network content that's on my profile. And then you can also go to lpl.com. And there's a lot of information on all of our affiliation models, not just the Independent Advisor Network, but we're happy to help connect the dots. So.
Well, it sounds like then here the big takeaway is that with the right support and platform and community, advisors can explore a model that gives them more flexibility while surrounding themselves with the resources that, like you said, they ultimately need to grow. So, Sarad, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your perspective.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
Absolutely. Thanks for tuning in to this Wealth Management Fast Chat.